Hello, and welcome to the Curator's Corner. Here at the Curator's Corner, we aim to bring you the history of the firefighting in Philadelphia, as well as the history of the Philadelphia Fire Department and its volunteer partners. I'm your host, Firefighter Brian Anderson, Curator of Fireman's Hall Museum. On this episode of the Curator's Corner, we're going to talk with Deputy Chief Carl Randolph, Special Operations Command, and Deputy Chief Kamau Bright, Aviation Operations Command. Just some content on the background on both chiefs. Deputy Chief Randolph was the first African-American assigned to Battalion 1, Hazardous Material Administration Unit, and command the Fire Marshal's Unit. Deputy Chief Kamau Bright is the first African-American assigned to the Aviation's Operations Division. Chief, to both of you, and Chief Randolph, you can answer this first. First, give us a little background on your position and your career.
Okay, so we'll start with the career and then we'll get to the position. So back in 1994, fresh out of the United States Navy, I joined the Philadelphia Fire Department, Cadet Class 168. From that class, I was assigned initially out of the Fire Academy to Engine 10 down at 12th and Reed on the A shift, where it was a really eye-opening experience. It was great. It was a great experience for me there with a bunch of seasoned firefighters. And uniquely, I was the only African-American on the platoon, and they were all about 23 years. The youngest next firefighter that was younger than me had 23 years on the job. I have to say that I was treated great. It was one of the best experiences. And I think if it were not for that unique experience, giving me all the background that I needed to be who I am today. As a matter of fact, those guys gave me all the books and they saw something in me that I didn't even see in myself. They said, hey, one day this guy is going to be a chief. And they gave me all the study material and all the things that I needed to branch out. And a year, probably 8 months later, I went over to Engine 24 for some firefighting experience. And I stayed there for just about 7 years or maybe a little bit more until I was promoted to lieutenant. I went up to ladder 18. And at the time, one of my mentors, Deputy Chief George Yeager, pulled me up to teach cadet classes, where actually my first class that I taught was Deputy Chief Bright. He was one of the first, he was the first class that I taught as a adjunct instructor. So during that class, special operations was coming up, and we were, the city was going to get started, and the first SOC class came out, and I was privileged to be in that class. So from there, I went to Squad 72, which was a squirt at the time. I went to Squirt 72. And then after all the training and we got the right equipment and apparatus, that particular company became a squad company. And unfortunately, worth mentioning is there was a fatal fire and the lieutenant passed away. And I went over to take his place. So that was really, and Derek Sawyer was the lieutenant before him. So it was, it was a really interesting path. Now that I look back, at the time I had no idea, but as I look back, it was really interesting how that whole thing came about. So after being there for about 3 years, I was promoted to captain, and I went out to Engine 16 for a little bit, a couple of years, and Squad 47 opened up. It was offered to me, and I was at Squad 47 for about 4.5 years, 5 years, until I made battalion chief. Went out to Battalion 11 for about 4 months, and until Battalion 1 opened up. And like you said, I was the first African-American fire battalion chief there. It was a great experience. It was like going home because I was at Engine 24, which is in Battalion 1. So it was almost like a homegoing. Really enjoyed being there, really enjoyed solving hazardous materials incidents throughout the city. And from there, I went up to HMAU, the Fire Academy, for a little bit as a deputy director, and then the HMAU Hazardous Materials Administrative Unit. I spent a few years there, which was also a great time. And then I got promoted to deputy chief. From deputy chief, I went down to the Fire Marshal's office, which had just endured a move from 3rd and Spring Garden out to Island Avenue. So it was kind of transition mode, very busy. All of these places that I worked were top-notch professionals. I mean, we dealt with the everyday problems that you would expect in those units, but they were all top-notch professionals, and I had a great time everywhere that I was at until there was an opportunity to come back home to SOC, which is what I really always wanted to do. Some people probably didn't understand it, but if it's in your heart, it's something you love. It's something that I want to do. The people that I work with, and it's just my pedigree to be here chomping at the bit. Special operations, Pennsylvania Task Force 1, hazmat, tech rescue, traveling the country, helping people who are in need during devastating events. The last event that I was on, Hurricane Ian, I was the task force leader for that incident that we went down, and we spent 14 days there. Prior to that, we were at the Champlain Tower collapse and down in Florida, right at Surfside, Florida. So I was there for 17 days. So this is kind of my wheelhouse and where I want to be. And pretty much in a nutshell, as brief as I could be, that's my career.
Okay. Chief Bright, you want to give us your background and your career and your position now?
Sure. My career intertwines a lot with Chief Randolph's, actually. Again, I joined the Fire Academy in June of 2003, class 177. After graduating, I went to Engine 40 on a D platoon, which was at 65th and Woodland Avenue, Southwest Philadelphia. I spent 5 years there. During the time of my assignment at Engine 40, I started to get a little bit into the special operations part of the department. During that time, I became a hazmat technician, and I was fortunate enough to join the Technical Rescue School class number 2. So after we completed Tech Rescue School number 2, I was assigned to Squad 72 on the A platoon at 11th and Loudon. I did not stay there long. I was there about 8 months. I had taken a test for lieutenant, and I, did very well and made lieutenant out of Squad 72, and I came back out West Philly, Southwest Philly to Engine 68, and I spent about 3 years at Engine 68, and then I got the opportunity to go to Squad 47 on the B platoon, where Chief Randolph was the captain at that time of Squad 47. So to go back, Chief Randolph was an adjunct instructor in my class, and then I got the opportunity to work under him at Squad 47. I stayed there about 3 or 4 years, and I got promoted to captain. I went to Engine 24 as the captain at 20th and Federal. And then I got the opportunity to return to Squad 47 as the captain. So I wasn't the immediate successor to Chief Randolph, but there was a captain in between us, but I was able to follow his footsteps and become the captain of Squad 47. Thoroughly enjoyed my time there, both as a lieutenant and a captain, but I eventually got promoted to battalion chief. And I went to Battalion 6, which is in Southwest Philly, out by the airport, 82nd and Bartram. But then I was given an opportunity to come back home, as they say, to Special Operations, where I again worked under Chief Randolph as the battalion chief of Special Operations. I was in charge of the technical rescue companies and the marine operations. So again, I was able to get my feet back into that whole special operations, life, which, as Captain Randolph said, it's in our blood. It's where most of my career, had been. It was a very fun time there, but very short. I took the test for deputy chief and was able to get number 2 on the list. So I was promoted fairly quickly, where I went to Division 1 on the B platoon. I was there for approximately 6 months before I got the opportunity to come look at the airport as a possible destination. The chief of the airport that was here, Mark Boffinger, was looking to come back to the field, and he called me and asked if I was interested in coming out to the airport. And I, came out and saw him and looked around, and it was something that was something that I felt like fit me, being at the airport. So to take it a step back, after high school, I went to college. I actually went to college for aerospace engineering. So I always had that dream of working around aircraft and that type of thing. So my college dreams didn't work out the way I planned. Like I said, the fire department was my ultimate path. But being able to come back to the airport and come to the airport and work in that, work around the aircraft and work at the airport, it came like full circle.
Okay. You both have impeccable careers and a lot of experience in different aspects of your career, especially dealing with SOC. But what you said was the leading motivation, and what was your transformation like transitioning from firefighter to officer?
Okay, so
go ahead.
Right. So I'm just going to say I want to take it back a step. So first of all, the concept of special operations, we had a really respected chief who now works for FEMA, Chief Freddie Endricott. He was here, and when 9/11 happened, he was in charge of Pennsylvania Task Force 1. He actually went up and was flown up. He drove up as far as he could up 95 towards New York when 9/11 occurred, and then he was flown up by helicopter to run that scene for the first 14 days or so, right? He was in charge of that scene. And from that moment, he hasn't really come back, but he did come back. And at the time, it was our fire commissioner, Hal Harrison, had asked him a question, because I sat in all these classes. And the question was, what does Philly need to be able to, be prepared for something like this? What should be a part of our preparedness? And the answer to the question was 2 rescue companies, 2 heavy rescue companies, 4 special operations companies, the squad companies that we keep talking about, they're special operations companies, and 2 hazmats. So out of that, we got 2 special operations companies. We're taking a step. We're taking that step. As that's progressing, that's where I want to be. Coming from the military, I was 23 years old when I started this job, and coming from the military to here, I was always gung-ho and wanted to be at the tip of the spear to resolve some of the issues that we had, or some of the things that could happen in our society, in our community, and just be a part of helping that community. So that's always been in my heart and in my soul. And the other question, becoming an officer from firefighter, there was a book that I read that was Buddy the Boss, and a lot of that was relevant, because no longer now you're responsible for those people who talk the way that you do. There's a type A personality that becomes a firefighter. So when you're in special operations, I say it's a double A personality. You know what I mean? So when you have to manage that, it makes it a little bit, you have credibility, I'll say, if you've been a part of that. And now you begin to manage that. You bring that credibility with you, and based on your reputation and the people who worked with you, that's the only thing that you can take with you. Your mindset has to change, because now you're responsible for those people going home at the end of their shift the same way they came to work. So that's your responsibility, and that's your bottom line. I've always felt that the administrative stuff is going to happen. If there's a misspelled word or whatever on a document that you have to forward, you can always get that back and correct it. But the thing that always could keep me up at night was just thinking, and those thoughts that came up about, how do I get everybody home at the end of the shift the same way they came to work at the beginning of the shift?
Chief, right? What would you say?
I became an officer kicking and screaming. I was at Engine 40, and my officer at the time, Sean Mack, who's now a battalion chief, just said, I see something in you. I want you to come study with me. And I'm like, no, I don't want to study. I don't want to be an officer. I like being on the back step. I like being a firefighter. He's like, no, you're going to come study. And so I went kicking and screaming. Um, I, you know, I test well. I'm able to, gain and hold knowledge and that type of thing. But I had the practical experience with it. But I was able to do, like I said, able to do well in the tests. Even though I had moved on from Engine 40 to Squad 72, I said I did well enough that I got promoted fairly quickly off of that list. But that transition, it wasn't that difficult. It was just a change in mindset. And the first change in mindset was just to establish, expectations, the expectations of going into a new place and saying, I'm here, I'm the new officer, and these are my expectations. If you put those expectations out, then, a lot of the things that could get crossed, the mind stuff, kind of goes out the way. This is the way that, the lieutenant wants to work, or this is the way the captain likes to do this. So I always like to, establish those expectations. And also, it's about relationship building, you know what I mean? Because as an officer, especially in the firehouse, we see our coworkers and our firefighters and the people that we work with a lot of times more than we see them, our families at home. You know what I mean? So we have to, to build those relationships so that, there's trust, and there's an understanding that, if I make this decision, the decision is for the best of all of us. It's not, I'm not trying to, to hurt somebody or to, to take advantage of a situation. I'm here to make sure that, again, we all go home at the end of the night.
Right. So, being where you both are as deputy chiefs, overseeing specialized units, how would you say has your perspective changed from being in the field as an officer to being where you are as a high mark administrator?
Okay, so I believe that my perspective has changed, and I believe that it does have to change, because with that knowledge and with the responsibility that I have to the rank that I wear and to the members that report to me, the perspective has to change. So that's a positive thing, because now you start to focus on, and that's when I become an officer as a battalion chief. That was one of the things I did with my company officers. I never really wanted them to touch a tool, because once you do that, your focus goes on to whatever you just touched. So I wanted to have them to start to develop a broader view if they're on scene of what's going on with their members. So that's what I have to do. I take that with me from this perspective. Instead of managing firefighters, now I'm managing battalion chiefs. Those battalion chiefs are very experienced. So it's less of that and more of basically mentoring. So your perspective has to become a little bit more global the higher that you go in the department. So those things that I was concerned about back then, I'm still concerned about them, but I'm not so hands-on. There's another way to correct those things that are going on. And that just goes with the maturity, the maturation process, as well as, the promotion through the ranks.
All right. And for me, being here at, we call it Engine 78, it's been a eye-opening but enjoyable transformation. So at here at ARF, as we call it, Airport Rescue Firefighting, I did not know a lot about ARF and aircraft firefighting and that type of thing. So when I got down here, I was just amazed at the amount of information that I didn't know. So it's been a learning curve of learning what actually goes on in aircraft emergencies and that type of thing. Plus, here at the airport, it's like I have my own little department because I touch on a lot of things as a deputy chief here that deputy chiefs that may be at Division 1, 2, or 3 may not touch. I deal with operations like a Division 1, 2, or 3, but I also deal with apparatus. I deal with a budget. I deal with facilities. So I touch on all of the things that goes on here at Engine 78. I have to establish partnerships. So my partners are the airport itself. So the airport, which is unique here at Engine 78, the airport pays our salaries, they pay for our trucks, they handle our facilities. So I have to have that partnership with the airport to make sure that everything is running smoothly and that, you know, we're doing all that we can that's being asked by the airport while still making sure that the airport is taking care of us. One thing is I've been able to, you know, go to different conferences through ARF, Airport Rescue Firefighting, and realizing that the ARF community is expansive. It's huge. It's both a national and international thing. So the good part about that is I'm able to reach out and talk to other ARF chiefs from large airports and small airports. And, you know, if I have a little bit of an issue that is unique to the airport, I have those resources for those people that has had that problem and you know, maybe are able to give me a little bit of a solution within that ARF world.
Right. Wow. We're running short of time, so real quick for both of you, since we are embarking on the end of Black History Month, what encouragement would you give a young African American or person of color who wants to be a firefighter and then from firefighting inspires to be a part of a specialized unit somewhat similar to what you both are a part of? What words of encouragement could you give to someone like that?
So the words of encouragement that I would give to that young African American officer is to stay the course. Look after all of your people, because all of us are no better than none of us. So look after everybody. Have equity, you know, have an even hand as you distribute, because you treat people the way you want to be treated. I always felt that way. It's the golden rule, you know, do unto others as you would have them do unto you. And you just put yourself, be empathetic, understand that why our rules are in place and regulations, and then manage them. You can only be you because everyone else is already taken. So be yourself.
For me, representation matters. So as I said, I've gotten here with the help of my mentors. So as a young person, even out off of the department, find a mentor, you know, go to a firehouse, find a firefighter, you know, start visiting the firehouse, start getting to know, you know, what the fire service is about. Get your mentors, get your plan together, you know, and stick with it. You have to continue to study. This job, you know, is continuously evolving. So you have to keep up on your education. So like I said, it's going to take perseverance, especially if you're, you know, somebody looking to get on the job. It may take some time. It may take a test or two to get on. I took the fire department test twice, and I got on with the second time. So, you know, it takes amount of perseverance. But like I said, find your mentors and they'll be able to help and guide you to some of your decisions.
Thank you. Well, gentlemen, I would like to thank you both again for joining me today. I would like to once again thank our guests for joining us today. I would like to thank you, the viewers, for tuning in and watching. As we reflect on Black History Month, I would like to reflect on all of the trailblazers and pioneers who laid the pathway before me so that I might have the opportunity to achieve a dream. Thank you. I would also like to remember the 16 African-American firefighters that died in the line of duty since the start of the Philadelphia Fire Department in 1871. If you'd like to see more content like this, please subscribe and hit the like button and leave a comment. Follow us on all our social media platforms, and also check out our Freedom from Fire, hosted by firefighter Camilla Vallette from the Philadelphia Fire Department's Fire Prevention and Code Division. So until next time, remember, 365, 24/7, fire is everyone's fight.